So we're here in The Rock, Nick Khan, and Vince McMahon's meeting back in 2022 wasn't actually about a Roman Reigns match in the future. No, it was much bigger than that. Oh, we're gonna talk about it in today's Amped Up podcast. Speaking of The Rock, you had Dwayne, you had Jonathan Cena, you had Pat McAfee, all on Smackdown this week. Were they able to pop a respectable Smackdown-esque rating, or did they dip below 2 million? BC's got the number. Wait till you hear the number they pulled this past Friday night. CM Punk has the wrestling world speculating now after his latest words. Phil Brooks gives a bit of an Easter egg, and the wrestling world is thinking, well, wait a second, that time frame, does it add up straight back to Chicago, November 25th? We'll talk all about it, and Collision, a lot of problems this past Saturday night for AEW. We're going to go over them. One of the biggest problems, believe it or not, was a guy who doesn't even work there. Yeah, L.A. Knight. How does he intertwine with Collision's issues this past Saturday? BC has it all and so much more. It's all coming up in today's Amped Up podcast for Monday, September 18th, 2023. Just 4 things I need you to do before we get rocking. Number 1, grab your coffees. Number 2, lock in your earbuds. Number 3, smash that up. And number 4, let's get amplified. Big swig of coffee for BC, and a big thank you to my entire Amplified unit from my Red Team Go, my channel subscribers, to my next level top tier Gold unit, my channel members, and everybody in between. A big salute as we begin another week of amplified content right here on the channel. And another top tier shout out to everybody and anybody that caught the Packers podcast last night on the channel. For those that don't know, we started covering the NFL this season, more specifically the Green Bay Packers. So every single week, you're going to get a review from BC on the Packers and whoever they played that week. This particular week was against the Falcons. We got our asses whooped in the fourth quarter. We collapsed. And you guys heard my amplified thoughts on everything that went wrong in that game yesterday. We put that podcast up late last night. So big thank you to everybody that caught it. Even if you're not an NFL fan, or if you're not a Packers fan more specifically, a lot of you guys still popped into that podcast and smashed the up and said what's up to BC. So I really appreciate that. But if you are a Packers fan and an NFL fan, you don't want to miss these reviews. Nobody does it better in the NFL than BC. So we're expanding, man. We're taking over the sports world slowly but surely. But for this podcast, hold on, let me get another swig of coffee first, because I'm not going to keep you guys waiting. We're going to go right into the top. We're going to start with the top story. That's what BC's trying to see. That's why BC needs more coffee. We're going to start with the top story. We ain't going to make you wait. And it has to do with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Nicholas Khan, and Vincent Kennedy, all supposedly getting together, according to The Rock anyway, who appeared on the Pat McAfee show hours before his Smackdown return Friday. And he said they all got together to talk about a potential Roman Reigns match in the future. No, absolutely not. That doesn't add up. And BC didn't even think to question that when I heard it. I didn't even think to question it because, like most of us, we were just focusing on how close we were to getting The Rock and Roman Reigns, that dream match. But then, one of my people down in Florida, one of my sources, if you will, I hate saying that, but they know a lot more than BC in and out of this business. They get a lot more information, and most of the time it is absolutely valid, or at least on the right track. And they said this meeting This was never about Roman Reigns. It was discussed, obviously. The Rock would not BS about that part. But that's not why they all jumped on their separate jets and planes to meet up to talk about a Roman match and bust out his tequila. Because that's what The Rock said, right? After they shook on a Roman Reigns Rock match, they hugged it, they shook hands, they hugged it out, they busted out the Terramana or Tahana Bama or Baby Mama, whatever you call his tequila. They busted that out. They basically had a big celebration. No, I believe all of that is true, but I believe what my people are saying. It was about a bigger picture. It was much bigger business being discussed. That's why they initially had the meeting. And I wish I had more info for you, man. I pried just for a little bit more. But this particular person said, BC, I got nothing else. That's what I'm hearing down here, man. And all of his stuff, full transparency, it all comes from the Performance Center. I have he's got no problem with that information out there. That comes from the Performance Center. And I know you guys are like, well, that's a weird place to get information. No, actually, it's better than Stamford, Connecticut. When you get info from the Performance Center, that's what everybody is talking about. That is like Grand Central Station more than Stamford, Connecticut. You have no idea how many people are passing through there, from developmental talent to actual stars to suits and ties. It is all down there in Orlando, Florida. So when I received word that this meeting, yeah, it absolutely happened. The Rock is 100% truthful in that. But the reason they got together was for much bigger business. Yes, I am going to now jump to the conclusion that The Rock was going to be a part of the purchase of WWE. I fully feel confident in saying that because it's what I was hearing all along. And it's in 2020. It's right when Nick Khan was really getting into the either merger or buyout of WWE and really getting into discussions. He said, we're not actively looking to sell, but we're taking the phone calls. No, you absolutely were brought in to broker this deal to sell WWE. That's why The Rock introduced Nick Khan to Vincent Kennedy. If you guys don't know, The Rock and Nick Khan were friends, childhood friends. All of a sudden, Nick Khan comes into WWE at the same time that Vince actively wants to sell this company. This was by design, and The Rock orchestrated it for Vince. I told you guys for many podcasts, there's something deeper relationship-wise between Vincent Kennedy, The Rock, and Nick Khan, but especially Vince and The Rock. There's something going on that perhaps we'll never know about. But there is a deeper business relationship that they have, man. They are miles and miles ahead of everybody else. They are playing a game of chess when everybody else is playing Monopoly. And it's working for them because they are cashing in. One hand washes the other. But it's very odd, the business that's going on, and it always revolves around Vince and The Rock. When Vince McMahon needed somebody to bail him out the second time with the XFL, in terms of optics, Vince McMahon was going to be slammed. For the second time, he failed at the XFL. So in terms of optics, it was going to look horrendous. In terms of financials, it was going to be a tragedy yet again. And who bailed him out? Underneath the rug. Not even a comment from Vince after the buyout. It was The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, who purchased the XFL from Vince McMahon. Vince never made a comment. They swept it underneath the rug. It was almost like you're just giving it to a different department in the company. Oh, it's just being held by my right-hand man over here, Dwayne Johnson. No, nothing. No comment. Swept underneath the rug like The Rock was the owner all along. The Rock was right there to bail out Vince McMahon. And at a layup price, by the way. Vince McMahon, I truly believe, and Nick Khan wanted to get this deal done. I think The Rock was going to lead a team of investors. I mean, a whole team. At that time, The Rock had Disney in his pocket. His right pocket was Disney, and his left pocket was NBC, Comcast, Universal in his left pocket. His back pocket was some other entity. His left back pocket was another entity. He could have had anybody and everybody, and The Rock would be leading this charge. Of course, Vince would still have approximately the 16% that he has, if not 20 to 25%. Perhaps Vince wanted more percentage of ownership if The Rock was leading the investment. That didn't happen, of course. Endeavor sweeps in and puts a $9+ billion eval deal on the table. And there's no way The Rock and Disney or The Rock and Comcast. The Rock could mix it up with Disney and Comcast. And there was no way they were matching that deal. Not that the three would work together anyway. And not that they couldn't afford it in some way. But Disney is still trying to dig out of that big Fox acquisition deal. They're trying to dig out of a multi-billion-dollar debt from acquiring Fox. So Disney purchasing WWE in any way is not high on their priority list. It's not high on their things-to-do list. So Disney is still being talked about to this very day for a new TV rights deal, right? Because they're working with UFC. But how high do you think Disney's willing to go when they already owe so much money? So Endeavor ends up doing this deal. I think the writing was on the wall probably the very next day. I don't know how much Terramana or Tahama Bama Baby Mama tequila was being drank, but I think the next day they realized, what did we even talk about yesterday? There's no way I can do this, is thinking The Rock. Do I really want to purchase WWE? I think right there, everything they talked about started going off the rails, right? The wheels started to fall off pretty quickly. I don't think it was very long at all for The Rock to know, at least in his dome piece, that I'm calling off this Roman match for sure. Everything we talked about isn't going to come to fruition. And I think The Rock, Nick Khan, Vince McMahon, they all saw pretty quickly, wait, there's bigger deals here. As much as Vince loves The Rock and would love The Rock to head these investors, I think Vince started to hear Nick Khan tell him, well, wait a second, there's a bigger problem here. We can actually get $6, $7, $8 billion plus, at least as an eval. And they ended up with over $9 billion as an eval. So, I mean, everybody was right here. I truly think if The Rock was going to head a team of investors with a Disney or a Comcast, you name it, you're going to get 6 tops, right? That was the number that was being floated around, and I think they could meet that. 7 would be the absolute mountaintop. But you weren't getting 9. Endeavor would have to make the bold statement that they made, and they did do that. Anyway, that's a lot of business jargon. The point is, I absolutely believe 110% exactly what I heard yesterday from my people. This was a meeting that absolutely transpired. The Rock versus Roman was something discussed in this meeting. I think that was a tail end type topic after maybe a few rounds of Baby Mama, Tahama Bama, Terramana, Tequila. But the main focal point of them getting together, jumping on their planes and meeting in person, shaking hands, hugging, cracking out the tequila, it was much bigger business than just Roman and Rock. Plans fell through, obviously. Endeavor gets the deal. But it shows you just how much business behind the scenes is going on with The Rock and Vince McMahon. They are so tight business-wise. One hand washes the other, and they have a really good thing going, man. A really good thing. Good for them, right? There's no player hate. I love when people succeed. I really do. It's the best thing. It's just smart business, right? That's the only thing you can really say about it. And you got to look at the time frame. According to The Rock, when this meeting took place, this was right around the time Nick Khan was kind of feeling out every entity, any conglomerate that has any interest in WWE. He was actively trying to sell this company for Vince McMahon. And this was the same time. This would add up, same time frame, to where we were hearing that The Rock was a big potential person to lead a group of investors to buy out WWE. And nobody from The Rock's camp, nobody in the know could debunk what we were hearing. Not that The Rock was definitely going to, but he was a big potential person to lead a group to do such. And now we find this out. It's wild, right? Wild to be at that table while they're breaking out that tequila and having these conversations. What it would have been like to be a fly on the wall, man. But that's that, man. Bigger business was being discussed. Again, BC is thinking that that's what the business was. I mean, what's bigger than Roman Rock at Mania? Why would these three businessmen jump on their planes to meet in person? Bigger business, like what? At the same time, we're talking about and trying to broker a deal to sell WWE. I don't know, man. It doesn't add up. But thought that was interesting to discuss on the podcast. Now, I want to stick with The Rock for a second. The Rock made a surprise, a shock return to WWE this past Friday night on Smackdown, hours after being on the Pat McAfee show. Now, that's a little tidbit there because Pat McAfee also returned, right? So both of them were doing Pat's show, knowing that in a few hours they were going to be in the middle of a WWE ring live on Fox. Sure enough, Pat comes back and he introduces The Rock. Later in the night, it was the return. He's had about 3 in the last 2 months of Jonathan Cena. So this was a packed SmackDown. The surprises to begin the show with Pat and The Rock, and to end the show with the promoted appearance of John Cena. Now, last week, they dipped all the way into the 2.0 flats, a little over 2. I think the final number did come a little closer to 2.1, but the overnights, for the first 2 days there, it was literally sitting at just over 2 million. And that was sad to see. SmackDown fall almost under 2 million. Was what happened on Friday night enough to give them a respectable SmackDown-esque number? At least 2.3, right? Let's get back let's get a couple 100,000 viewers bare minimum, even though people did not know The Rock and Pat was coming back. Well, guys, this week's SmackDown pulled a 2.45. Up from last week's 2.0 to 2.1. So again, closer to 2.5. This is over 350,000 viewers that came right back to Friday Night SmackDown. This is a big increase, over 20%, and way up in the 18 to 49 demo as well, 30-some-odd%, I believe. So, a big W for SmackDown, right back to playing around 2.5. That's big. That's where that show should be. And without Roman Reigns, you best pull anything and everything out of your pockets. And it better not be a ball of lint or a starburst from a week ago. No, you better be producing some captivating television that makes your audience care about what they're tuning into, that makes them feel something. And The Rock, man, when he came out, that response, it is contagious to those that are watching outside of the arena. Very well done. And then you promote John Cena. Enough people stuck around, and you're able to get back up to near 2.5 without Roman Reigns. Now, you're not always going to have Jonathan Cena or a Pat McAfee surprise, and especially not Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So if you continue not to have Roman Reigns and you have none of them, good luck. You'll probably be right back to 2.0 to 2.1 tops. And at worst, you could dip below 2 million. And it's not about being on FX or on cable, off of broadcast and on cable because of some sporting event. No, you're on Fox pulling in less than 2 million viewers. You know, that's what's going to, at some point, your champion's going to have to return a little bit more steady, right? I don't mind not being there every week. I get it. And it makes them more special. But this, man, this is a little, when the Bloodline storyline is this week, and it's weak. A lot of people are saying the Bloodline story is done. It's finished. There's nowhere else you can go. It's went beyond stale. This is more than just like stale bread. This is like moldy bread. Like you left it more than a week. It's been 2-3 weeks, and the whole loaf of bread is now green. This is basically the Bloodline. I mean, the best you got going right now is Jay has the Raw locker room upset with him, and Jimmy is trying to find out which faction he wants to go to. You got to do better than that, man. And with Roman off TV, it's the ratings showed you last week. They're going in the opposite way. This past Friday was a big night for WWE. Can they keep that going? I don't know. Again, you ain't going to have The Rock and Pat next week. You might have John Cena. I think he's scheduled, at least for the live crowd. Who knows if they'll put him on TV. Most likely going into Fastlane October 7th, I believe, is their next PPV. I think John Cena is going to be a part of that. Anyway, Smackdown 2.45, up from last week's 2.0. Big boost in the ratings. Let's go over to CM Punk. How about CM Punk? So Punk recently said, and I forgot, I think this was this a UFC event or some mixed martial arts event? He was doing some commentary maybe. I don't think it was a podcast, but he was talking on commentary, and he let out a big Easter egg here, man. He says, and I quote, this is from Phil Brooks, "I got some time on my hands for the next 2 months anyway." I got some time on my hands, meaning that's why he's doing the commentary and able to talk with the people he was doing commentary with. I got some time on my hands, at least for the next 2 months. Now, this is not a... this is pretty easily going to spark the wrestling world in conversation. Well, what's gonna be in 2 months? When he is totally free in 2 months, because that's basically what he's saying. I got some time for the next 2 months. Is anything happening in 2 months, right? This was, his termination was September 1st. This was just recently, so middle of September he's saying this. So this leads us to what, middle of November? Is 2 straight months. And what's happening November 25th? A little event called Survivor Series in Chicago for WWE. I'm not saying it's definitely happening, guys. I'm saying that's what a lot of people immediately started to think of. Wait a second. 2 months? That's middle of November. Well, November 25th, the end of November, well, that's Chicago. He's free right before that? Man, you gotta love it. Now, BC said, all right, and I'm not the biggest Punk fan, obviously, but I said this is pretty obvious, and I know how difficult he is to work with, and he can be the diva, but WWE, he is more structured there, and I think Punk, somebody like him, needs a more structured environment, a place where he's not just going to start brawling, or even if people are instigating the fight, he's not going to be so easily provoked. He just needs some more structure. And I think around people like Brockton Lesnar and Paul Levesque McMahon and Vincent Kennedy and maybe Ari Emanuel is walking around backstage, I doubt very much Punk is going to act like an animal in the zoo. I doubt very much Punk would do that, man. He might still be upset with maybe some booking. He's going to be, not tight with the locker room. But I doubt very much you're going to hear about these brawls happening in front of these people in WWE. It's a different structure there now. And I think Punk works better with that. And we've come to the conclusion that Punk is just not happy in wrestling anymore, right? We all know that. It doesn't matter where he goes. He's just not happy with wrestling. Maybe he's not happy with a lot of things. I don't know. But he loses his smile very quickly with wrestling. So that's fine. We just go about this as business now, right? This is literally a job now. We're going to pay you a good sum of money, and this is going to be your booking. We'll start you off in Chicago. Do something with Roman. We'll have a big match at Rumble. Roman has to go over, obviously, because Roman's going to propel him to, who knows, The Rock, Cody Rhodes. Who knows what we're going to do with this company doesn't know at this point, truly. I don't even think Cody Rhodes is a lock for 40. But Roman has to go over and do his own thing at 40. But how you lose that match at the Rumble will have some interference or something. That'll set up your WrestleMania. So Punk will still have a big Mania match. And maybe even Punk goes over. Maybe you have Punk versus Sethington. They already planted some seeds about how Seth feels about Punk, supposedly IRL. So there's no love lost there. Maybe you do that title match at Mania. There's so much you could do with Punk. Punk, Roman at Rumble, setting up Sethington, Punk, Mania. There's so many ways you could go about it. In between, you get the AJ Styles versus Punk matches that so many people would love to see. LA Knight versus Punk, of course, on the microphone. It would be electric. There's many ways you could go. that should appease Punk creatively. Just iron out. As long as Punk doesn't look like an idiot, he's going to have to do some jobs, but I don't think Punk cares about that. Punk is putting up over Bullet Club gold. Punk is in 6-man tags with FTR losing. I don't think he really cares. Ricky Starks was going to beat him. Or eventually. I don't know about their first contest, but that's not a big deal, or it shouldn't be. He shouldn't be thinking, I want to come back and I have to be the main event in WrestleMania. No, AEW had you in the first match of All In. They had you against Samoa Joe, which was a rematch from a couple weeks earlier. You were the very first match on the card in a match that is easily forgettable, and nobody would have paid money to see that match. I gotta see Punk and Joe, a match that we just saw on TV 2 weeks ago. So, you can't go from the first match at All In and then demand that WWE put you in the main event. So as long as they sit at a table, Vincent, Paul Levesque McMahon, Punk, and whoever else needs to be there, and you iron out a little thing, it's like, all right, this is what we're going to do through Mania, and then we'll come back to the table and discuss more. But we're going to pay you this amount of money. You're just going to do this job. It's not about you having a smile on your face. We're not asking you to be friends with the locker room. We're all going to be cordial. There's going to be no disputes, not even an argument. We want to hear nothing. We want to pay you a good amount of money, and you're just going to do your job. And hopefully, every once in a while, you can show up with a smile. Every once in a while, maybe you just show up to work with a smile. You just woke up on the right side of the bed, right? The sun is out. You turn to the left, and you got AJ Mendez looking at you, right? Life's pretty good if the sun is out and AJ Lee is next to you in bed. That's a damn good day already. Maybe you show up with a smile, but whether you do or you don't, you treat it like a job. And I see no problem with Punk ending his wrestling career in WWE. I think it's more structured. We can stop the drama part of it and really focus on Punk's wrestling career as it winds down and give it a proper send-off. I don't have to be the biggest Punk fan to know that this is easy business. It needs to happen. So there's absolutely that discussion out there, and I think I think it needs to happen. Punk in Chicago at Survivor Series. Let's do this the right way, man. And for Punk, it is going to be the biggest vindication. It'll stop all of the past, ever since Punk returned to AEW. What was that, a year ago? Not 2 years, right? However long it's been. It's just been one incident after another that is actually dampening, putting a black cloud over Punk's career. And it's erasing what made everybody chant CM Punk at every arena for the 7 years he wasn't even there. It's erasing that. And now there's a new image. There's a new thought of CM Punk now, and it's not good. So it'll help Punk, it'll help WWE's business, I truly feel, and maybe it'll spark some more interest in wrestling fans. In a positive way this time, unlike his run in AEW. Maybe, right? Or it all falls on its face. But the point is, I feel this needs to happen, man. Chicago, let's rock it. He says, I got 2 months before I can really do anything, before I'm basically free. Now, that also raises another conversation, though. Is he under no compete? I mean, he's under something for 2 full months, right? This was September 1st that he was terminated. 2 full months would take you to about November 1st. He was under, we believe, 2 separate contracts, employee contract and a talent contract. Now, employee, if you're fired, you wouldn't have 60 days before you need to go anywhere else. No, you would collect your money, or if they don't want to pay you because it was with cause, you would go into legal proceedings. But you wouldn't have a 60-day penalty against you to find other employment. So that's the employee contract. Now, the talent contract, we haven't heard of Tony Khan initiating too many non-compete clauses, unlike WWE, which does them basically for everybody. But Tony could have done it, or they reached a deal that will pay you X amount of money for now, but you can't go anywhere. Which Tony should have thought, damn, if I could have made that 3 months, he would have definitely missed Survivor Series in Chicago. I wouldn't have to worry about it. And then would it make sense to even bring him back as a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble, especially if he's just going to lose anyway? Survivor Series would have to be the date in Chicago, and Tony could have avoided that. But that's only if he was able to broker a deal. If I pay you X amount of money of this current contract, before we go into court legal procedures and battles, I'll pay you this amount of money. You don't go anywhere for the next 3 months. But if this was a straight up no compete, then he is free on November 1st. November 25th is Survivor Series. So anyway, guys, I hope you kept up. There's a lot to think about here, but Punk did admit he's got 2 full months before he can really say anything or do anything, basically before he is free. So that's huge. Now, I want to stick with AEW. Collision this past Saturday night apparently had a plethora of issues. I'm probably leaving out a couple too, Tree, but this is a laundry list that I've compiled for you guys. This is just some of the problems that occurred on Saturday night for Collision. First and foremost, the most obvious and the most talked about, Bryce Jordan Center is where they were at, arena-wise. This is an arena that has a capacity of over 15,000. Now, full transparency, a wrestling show in an arena that has a 15,000 seat capacity usually will pull 10 to 12,000 because you have to think, if this is a television show anyway, you have to think about the staging area and any other platforms, any equipment, things like that sometimes will cut off some of the arena. So for a wrestling show, you really want to get between 10 to 12,000 fans in attendance for a 15,000 capacity. Of course, if tickets are in hot demand and they're selling fast, then you can open up sections, right? You'll hide more equipment backstage. You'll cut off some of the staging area. We've seen that many times because tickets are in such hot demand. Like if you go to Madison Square Garden, you're never going to get a big staging area. You're not going to do it because they know they're selling every seat in Madison Square Garden. They're getting every dime that they can. So in this scenario, you're looking at 10 to 12 because the Bryce Jordan Center can fill 15,000. Again, with the staging and everything, 10 to 12. Unfortunately, the tickets were not selling fast. They were not in demand. It was the opposite. And AEW only set up for 4,000 tickets, guys. Or a setup of 4,000, thinking they were only going to be able to sell 4,000 tickets. And unfortunately, that didn't even happen. Latest reports say that only 3,000 tickets were actually sold. 3,000. Now, that's not saying that all of those 3,000 individuals were even there in attendance. How many remained on the black market third party for the resale? But they only set up for 4,000 when they should have had well over 10, and they couldn't even get the 4. That's the biggest problem. And it's a problem, guys, because of the optics. It becomes a problem for the company. First and foremost, when you cannot even fill half the arena, because that's what happened here. You had less, way less than half the arena in attendance. So what happens is you have to tarp off the entire camera side. You guys know that, right? Make what the camera can see look so packed. Then, of course, you tarp off the entire top section, right? Because you can fiddle around and make that not noticeable from camera A all the way to your camera E shot. So you just cut off, almost like it's not there, or those aren't seats. That's part of the ceiling up there. So you tarp off all of that. Now, AEW did all of that. They did all the tricks. You black out the hard cam side. You black out the upper deck. But where the problem lies is now you're also taking out your camera E shot, which is your corner shot. You know, when a wrestler's coming down the aisle and you have that look like the whole arena is packed. But they manipulate the shot. WWE does it too. It's from the corner, and the arena looks stacked. But if you look to the left, they're basically making sure they don't show any of that. This is where the issue is. You started to leak into your camera E shot. So now you're taking away that whole corner because you can't fill it. That's the problem. I hope people understand. Like when people say, oh, it's not a big deal, man. Just wrestling shows don't really draw what they used to. Look what they did in Wembley Stadium, BC. I totally get it. Trust me. But when it's becoming a big issue for the product, for the people watching at home, and for the company itself, because now they're like, oh man, if we can't even come close to filling half the arena, do we have to think about, not saying go to local bingo halls, guys. I'm not saying it's that bad. but you have to start thinking about going to lesser venues. You know, will you ever recreate the old ECW vibe? No. They could go to a local bingo hall and the atmosphere was beyond electric and amplified. You'll never get that, but it's better than just embarrassing yourselves, because that's what you're doing now, man. You're renting out an arena that can fill 15,000 fans. And, I mean, barely 3,000 are showing. You got to start doing business a little bit differently. Save yourself money in the process, but you have to go to a lesser venue. And I think Tony Khan is probably thinking, well, that's going to make us look really Bush League. But no, man, it's going to propel you for the future. What makes you look Bush League is when you can't even fill in half of your arena. That's not good. We've said it about WWE, we'll say it about AEW, but when you can't even fill in the camera E corner shot, now we're going really the opposite direction. That was just one problem, guys. There was other just weird issues too, like Big Bill. Big Bill goes underneath the ring for a prop and it wasn't there. He was blaming ringside. This is from people in attendance that were saying this. He was yelling, berating the ring crew for saying that they moved it on him. It was a big piece that he was supposed to use prop-wise in the match, and it was moved on Big Bill, and it took forever. He couldn't find it. He's yelling at the ring crew. It went off the rails. Britt Baker, apparently there was a botch in her finish, and it was a 3 count. They went back on it. They said, no, just a 2 count. Now, I didn't see this particular match. This is what I'm hearing from fans in attendance. This is everything I'm giving you guys is not opinion-based or what people think on the online machine. This is from people in attendance this is what we're discussing right now. I probably should have already said that, right? It probably should have been prefaced with that. Every problem I am telling you guys right now from Collision, it's from people in attendance and what they saw crowd-wise and what they saw in that ring, and Big Bill berating ring crew. I don't even know if that made the television show. Britt Baker in the botch at the end of her match. I don't know if that made the show. I don't even know if that was a dark match or on the show, but it was a botched finish, a 3 count that was called a 2, or at least that's what the people in attendance saw, so they were chanting bullshit. Speaking of chants, FTR, the Work Horsemen, come out after FTR's match, and they set up a title match for the future, or a matchup between the 4. I'm guessing it's for the championships, but they set up a match. Now, what you don't want to hear from your crowd when 2 people come out to set up a match with your champions is, who are you? Guys, the crowd, this is from people in attendance that told BC this directly. The crowd started chanting, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Guys, that's horrible. This is what I mean. What is Tony Khan doing? He has over 200 individuals on his roster. Utilize them. He just wants to bring any new toy that he can come across and put them on his shows. You're confusing your audience. And Psychology 101 tells us that when somebody is confused, they walk away. When people get confused, they walk away. Why would you do that to your audience? The Work Horsemen, probably great dudes, probably got a good base of fans, awesome. When AEW fans, because this is on a TV show, are chanting, who are you? You probably done messed up. Speaking of chants, one of the loudest chants in the arena on that Saturday from the people that did show up. Nobody on the AEW roster. It was a WWE superstar. Yeah. L.A. Knight. Guys, there was chants throughout the night. Whether they were in a commercial, a main match, a dark match, were all over the arena. Now, you could easily say because of the contract negotiations, and apparently they were kind of far apart on money, maybe people are trying to subliminally or straight out tell Tony Khan, hire LA Knight if you get the chance. Maybe that was a direct signal to Tony Khan to get LA Knight. But you also have to believe that's how over LA Knight is. And if they're not really feeling the night of action in front of them, and they're thinking about this WWE guy, you got to believe that's not good. Or with the over 200 individuals you already have on your roster, if all they can think about is you getting LA Knight, that's another big issue. More people in attendance. This was told to me directly from somebody there. That Keith Lee, again, I didn't see this. This is what I'm going by. Keith Lee's next opponent is supposedly Shane Taylor. I guess there was a video package played in the arena up on the Tron. And most people in attendance during and after that video were just absolutely befuddled. Keith Lee. This is Keith Lee. And you look at his booking since he's been in AEW anyway, minus the health issues, of course. But when he is there, his booking, and you're talking about pumping up a Shane Taylor match. This is a guy in WWE that went toe-to-toe with Roman and Brock Lesnar, and we thought, oh, could you imagine when those matches happen? And they never did, unfortunately. So everybody said, man, Tony Khan, if Keith Lee goes to AEW, Tony Khan's going to know how to book him. He's finally going to get the chance. He's going to get that rocket. He's going to have badass matches. We're going to see the best of Keith Lee. I'm telling you guys how people felt in that crowd when they saw that video, and they're like, what are we doing, man? That's what you spent time on? Shane Taylor? That's what you're doing with Keith Lee? Guys, like I said, this was just some of the issues that happened on Collision from Who Are You Chance opposing the tag team champions FTR is two dudes that the crowd did not know and let them know they didn't know them. Who Are You Chance? Yeah, LA Knight chants throughout the arena. You have matches that people don't understand, like Lee and Taylor. You have a crowd that is less than half the arena. What that does for the crowd that showed up is like, whoa, am I at the place to, is this the place to be? Or did I show up to the dance that all the cool kids didn't go to? And like a moron, I showed up to it. Again, man, Collision is a show that a lot of people say is better than Rampage, and a lot of people feel it's better than Dynamite, the presentation. The shows that I caught, I liked the color scheme. I thought it had more energy than Dynamite. You know, I think there's potential there. I think Saturday night absolutely just kills them. You bring in college football, which is just beginning. More WWE Saturday night pay-per-view, some big UFC preliminary fights. Collision is facing a wabaka. They are facing, it's not stiff competition. They're facing a total knockout in the future. So you really feel for the night that they're on. But then you see what they're producing, and you see all the problem areas that need attention. There's a lot of work to be done, man. I'm not saying Collision doesn't have potential. We all see that. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I say you scrap Rampage once and for all. Move Collision over to Friday nights. Call it Collision still. Keep the color scheme. Keep it all. And let's redefine Collision. Tony Khan cannot handle 3 primetime shows this early in AEW's existence, roughly 5 years. Nor should he have 3 primetime shows. WWE's been around decades, and for most of those decades, years and years, they've only had 2 primetime shows. And when they got NXT is like the ugly duckling that nobody pays attention to. I mean, for the longest time, they didn't even care about NXT. It's getting some love now from WWE and placing main roster talent because they want to get a good TV rights deal. And after they reach that new deal, it's right back to not caring about that. It's about Raw and Smackdown too, and that's already enough for Paul Levesque McMahon to handle. He can't even handle the 3rd hour of Raw. I think he can't even handle all of Raw. And then you want him to handle Smackdown. And here Tony Khan is, in just 5 years, he's got 3 shows on primetime, and none of them can come close to 1 million. 2 out of the 3 are struggling to get 500,000. This is harsh truth, man. You want to see it succeed as a wrestling fan, right? But I mean, Sometimes more is not the answer, right? Sometimes you got to think, is quality better than quantity? In this case, concentrate on getting Dynamite as best as you could possibly get it. Then you would think about a second show like Rampage. But instead, while they're struggling with Dynamite, they introduce Rampage. Rampage is completely getting ravaged, and so they say, hey, let's do a third show. Collision can't bring in what they're looking for, and it's only going to get clobbered as time goes on and competition gets even more stiff, and they get wabaka'd. So what is their answer going to be? A fourth show? You start going to have a Sunday night show now? Sunday night, what are we doing? Hey, did you guys see What Are We Doing? Oh, what a show it was. You know, we laugh, but I mean, this is out of hand now, man. And these issues are going to keep stacking up. More shows, and less people are showing up and tuning in on TV. That's a problem. My name's BC Amplified. This has been the Amped Up Podcast, Monday, September 18th, 2023. If you guys wanted a Raw preview, Monday Night Raw tonight, guys, there's not much to say. Cody Rhodes versus Dominik Mysterio is planned for tonight. If it feels like you already saw that match, you did. That was just at Money in the Bank a month or two ago. You literally just saw it. You saw Cody versus Damian Priest. You've seen Cody versus Finn Balor twice in the last several months. And now you're going to see Cody and Dominik again. And this is what I told you guys. You're just going to see months of Judgment Day versus Cody every single week. Just like Judgment Day versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn every week. They'll play around with some of the puzzle pieces, right? Sometimes it'll be a 6-man tag. Sometimes it'll be one-on-one, right? Sami versus Damian, Cody versus Dominik. Then they'll tag it up, Sami and KO versus any two of the 3 men members of Judgment Day. Sometimes you'll get the 6-man tags. Maybe they'll make it an 8-man tag, right? Sethington and Cody join Sami and Kevin. But this is what you're going to do, and this is why this Judgment Day is not flying with a lot of us. They're just regurgitating matches every week, and it's not fun. So you're just going to get Cody Rhodes and Dominik, and I don't know what you think it's going to lead to that's going to be fun. More Cody versus all of Judgment Day in a brawl. Are they going to brawl after the match? This is not fun television. This is just wrestling for the sake of wrestling, and nobody needs to fucking tune in on prime time on a Monday night to watch just regurgitated programming. You're also going to see the development next of Shinsuke and Sethington, but that ended at Payback, the last pay-per-view a couple weeks ago, September 2nd. Sethington beat Nakamura clean, and we went off the air. Afterwards, Nakamura supposedly attacked Sethington after the pay-per-view. So now we're all supposed to believe that this feud is ongoing. Well, why not just put the attack on the pay-per-view then? None of it makes sense. What else? I don't even know what else is going on. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods is supposed to take on the Viking Raiders. If that sounds familiar, it's because they just faced each other a few weeks ago before Xavier got injured. Xavier is now back as of last week. I think he took on maybe Drew. Did he take on Drew McIntyre or something like that? Xavier's back, and now they're going right back in there with the Viking Raiders, and I'm sure Nail Polish Nelson, Flip-Flops Flanagan himself, Scooter McGee, Matt Riddle, and Drew Snoozentire will somehow be involved in this match. We're just regurgitating matches. I don't see anything right now on the preview that WWE has released. I don't see anything that could possibly captivate a wrestling audience. Hey, Beasley, maybe we'll get good wrestling on the wrestling show. Yeah, maybe, right? You can see that at the local bingo hall. You ain't got to wait till 8 or 9 p.m. at night. You ain't got to spend 3 hours of your primetime night watching regurgitated wrestling matches. It has to be more than that. Are we going to care about these characters? Are they going to be involved in fun stories, fun segments, things that make you think, things that make you talk about it the next day? Have fun with the product. Have fun with the matches. Have fun with the segments. Are we going to have a fun, electrifying, entertaining Monday Night Raw? Or are we going to watch one segment after the other of mind-numbing boredom? Most likely going to be the latter. Anyway, we'll see. BC will be right back with you tomorrow for the Raw review. No mulligans, no sugarcoating. We're going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. Maybe we'll even do a good, the bad, and the... Who knows, right? You never know. Anyway, top guys, we're out. Until next time, and there will be that next time. BC saying check you. Peace!